Okay, I'm sorry. Are you ready,
All
ma'am?
right, sure.
You need a few more minutes? Okay. Good evening, citizens of Portsmouth, my colleagues, my city council, city staff. Call to order our special closed meeting. And we do have a closed meeting motion. And Madam Vice Mayor, would you please read the motion?
Can we call the roll first?
Yes, that's right. We need to call the roll. That's right. Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Biggs, could you open that door back up, please?
Oh, it's locked.
Not yet.
Oh.
Not yet.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Thank you. Mr. Barnes is absent. Mr. Hugel?
Here.
Mrs. Lucasberg? Here. Mr. Moody?
Here.
Mr. Tillage?
Here.
Dr. Whitaker?
Present.
Mayor Glover?
Here. And Madam Vice Mayor, we do have a need for a motion
Yes,
to go into close.
certainly. I move to go into a closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code subsection 2.2-3711A1 for the purpose of discussing, considering, and interviewing candidates for the position of city assessor.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
A question.
Question?
Go ahead, sir.
I just wanted to put on record that I will not be participating in this process. I want to make sure that my absence from it is documented and that the process that we are going through, that I have objected to the format that was used, particularly including Ms. Janie Culpepper in the interview process, when this council is fully aware that we have not been advised by the city attorney in regards to the compliance review from the Commonwealth of Virginia, which involved improprieties in the office of the city assessor, which council has not been apprised of by the city attorney. Also, this council, which the majority of this council appointed the current interim city manager. The interim city manager has brought to our attention also improprieties in the hiring process that has occurred to staff members in the city assessor's office, which a majority of this council is choosing to ignore those improprieties where persons were hired by the city assessor without having completed applications. No background checks were done, and as a result, persons within human resources have been relieved of their jobs because persons within the city assessor's office were trying to curry favor. The third objection deals with the fact that Ms. Culpepper tried to involve this council in trying to fund those positions that were not rightfully staffed within her office, with the request of a $600,000 increase to her budget, which this council is fully aware would go towards paying salaries for persons who were not properly vetted and were overlooked. And so I'm particularly concerned that there are those on this council who also recommended that the criteria for city assessor be changed, particularly to allow Ms. Culpepper to interview. When in previous council meetings where there were appointments that we were making, background checks were stressed. We had issues with how persons had acted privately. And it seems like that there's a double standard when it comes to appointing people who will carry out favors for members of this council. And I'm quite shocked at the fact that there are those who are going to be pursuing higher offices who would allow themselves to be put into a situation such as this, where the record's going to show that you allowed for persons to be hired by this council who you knew had committed improprieties by the state, and you were made aware of those improprieties by the interim city manager. And so if that's a risk you would like to take, that's on you. But I'm not going to be a part of this process where we have been put on notice and have not been advised by the attorney of improprieties within this office. And it's interesting how silent this council is when the improprieties involve some of your friends. You sit back and allow it to happen, but when it happens on the other side, you make great mockeries of the process. And so I'm not going to be a part of this, and if the 5 of you choose to do what you're going to do, so be it, but I will not be one that will participate in such a democracy.
Thank you, sir. Councilman
Thank you, Mayor.
Moody, you have the
I
floor.
don't know of any improprieties that Ms. Culpepper has made, and also she served 6 years as the assessor, and she received national awards for that. But my colleague also has a very short memory that could actually be categorized as hypocritical. I recall Mr. Whitaker wanting to hire a city attorney who had been cited by the Bar Association, and the city attorney that he wanted to hire, and he tried to blindside counsel in doing so, didn't even have a driver's license. And fortunately, the public got wind of it and nixed his scheme, him and a few of the colleagues, some of which aren't here, none of which here at the meeting, nixed their scheme to blindside us and to hire a city attorney who was not qualified and could not actually have practiced law on his doings, intimidating a witness during a trial. So I find your statement, Councilman Whitaker, to be extremely disappointing and extremely hypocritical. So, Mayor, I guess he's free to exit. And, you know, you unfortunately, you may have put this council at risk of liability for your charges. And we got enough suits. In fact, I think yours is one of the suits. It's still out there for $7 million. So make sure that's in the record also, Madam Clerk.
Right. So, Mr. Moody, I agree with everything you said. And if anyone should know about putting the city and this council in liability, is you, because I think the record would clearly show that it's you who the city had to pay substantial dollars out. And we do know that the truth doesn't come out of your mouth frequently. And so as far as the other incidences are concerned, I'm speaking about conduct that has occurred while in city office. It's interesting you bring up conduct that has occurred in private life. Also, the incidents that you do raise, it's interesting you brought up about the driver's license. That was not a requirement to be a city attorney. Also, the incident that you raised, I find it interesting that the only time you tend to have objections to persons being hired with have questionable backgrounds is when it's persons that you can influence. And so I'm not a bit surprised, and I agree with everything you said, because your record is clear about your conduct and also the liability you have caused this city. And so my point is clear, that the conduct of Ms. Culpepper, which this council is aware of, has all occurred within her position as a city employee, not in her private life. I'm not speaking to anything in her private life. I'm talking about the fact that she brought before council members a request for a $600,000 increase in her budget, which I did not meet with her on. It was brought to this council's attention that there were improprieties that occurred in the hiring of persons within her office, which all of you in here are aware of, that didn't go through the proper channels, which she was aware of, which has led to a person being dismissed. It was brought to this council's attention by the Commonwealth of Virginia that there were improprieties that were committed within the city's assessor's office, which Ms. Culpepper came before this council and presented misleading information regarding tax abatements for the Elizabeth Minor Golf Course. I'm not surprised that you all are trying to push this through, because throughout the whole process, and the common denominator is that your friends are involved in all of this. And I'm not trying to be on one side or the other. I'm trying to do what's right. And the right thing to do would be to not allow Ms. Culpepper to interview, to open the process back up. But I know that that's too much of a risk for you, because you all have some things that you need to curry favor for. I'm not a part of that process with you all. I'm not in here trying to curry favor for anybody. I'm just in here trying to do what's right. That's been my record ever since I've been up here. That's why you all come at me so hard and tried to get me off this council. And that's why you, of all people, try to bring up lawsuits, because you know for yourself it's interesting that you have not said anything about the Elizabeth Minor tax issue. But yet when other black organizations came in here with tax issues, you wanted to go hard at them. When the book club came in here with issues, you tried to keep them from getting a permit. When other entities come in here with issues, you didn't do that.
So did the black police chief.
Look, your racism, your ignorance speaks for itself.
The city
It speaks
knows
for
that
itself.
you're a racist.
I hope they know more than that. I hope you know more than that. I hope you know than that. But you show me any policy. Show me any policy I've ever voted on that has oppressed white folks. You show me any policy I've ever voted on that has oppressed white folks. Then, but see, I know you don't know the definition.
Point of order.
I know you don't know the definition.
Can we please?
Yes, and so I want the record to clearly show, so that when ignorant comments such as this is made, I want the record to show where I stand. My stance has been consistent for ever since I've been in elected officials.
So
now, you might call me racist for speaking up against racism, which I always do and have always done, ever since I was a student athlete at Virginia Tech. I've always spoken out against racism. I sure did, and won. But I noticed you've never stood up for anything that's just and righteous. All you do is sit back and try to stop black progress. And so I want to let you know, what you're saying isn't anything new to me. I'm saying I don't care if folks think I'm a racist. I speak out against racism.
No, you
And
don't.
if speaking out against racism, if speaking out against injustice makes me a racist, so be it. But show me any white folks I've ever oppressed. I can show you, though, on your record where you have discriminately acted against blacks because of who they are. Your policies, your votes have never been consistent. The book club is prime example.
Point of order.
You come in at our organization.
Look, we can't, look, wait, hold on.
I want it on record. I hope it is on record. I
Hold on.
want folks to see how foolish you are.
Gentlemen.
And look, you can't, it's nothing you can do to define me. People know your record.
Gentlemen, but
So
gentlemen,
it's no need in trying to define me.
we're both, we're all,
Right.
we're not dealing with the
Mayor,
business.
all I'm saying, and you allowed it, and so all I'm saying is that I'm not going to participate
Yes, sir.
in this process, because you say you're the leader of this city, you said, which is against the charter, because you're not the leader of the city. It's still the council. It's still the council. I'm trying to point out to you and our citizens, I will not participate in a process where the 5 of you in here know that there's improprieties that have been done and documented, and you've chosen to overlook it, and you have also influenced others to overlook it, you can't influence me that way. My position on this city council doesn't define me. And so that's why those comments you make, I say I agree with everything you say, because you have no merit. You know, you're about this much. You're about this much.
Point of
And
order.
so I
We
just want to
keep-
let you know.
we keep-
Point your order.
Sir,
Especially you don't raise point of orders when there's injustice being done. I don't hear you raise point of orders then. When your
Sir.
friends are benefiting, I don't hear you raise point
Would
of
you
order.
please just
Go right on, Mr. Mayor. You're correct. You are correct. I know what you're about to say. You're correct. I agree with you 100%.
Thank you for your position. We have a motion and a second on the floor for the closed session.
Do we have some other discussion?
No, we have a motion and a second, so we need to take a vote to go into closed, and then we will be in closed.
I guess if we're in discussion, we should all have an opportunity.
Okay, I mean, if there's still some additional
Okay.
discussion, if
Yeah, I
you would
mean,
like to
I
have.
just, for the record, we did have an opportunity to meet with our city attorney, and the direction that she gave us was that we were in order to proceed with the information that we have for our candidates. And it was specifically asked about Ms. Culpepper's position in the hiring of those persons. And of course, it is not her job to hire. It was the HR department to do the due diligence to ensure that the background checks or the application or whatever process that is required for that position. So that wasn't Ms. Janie Culpepper's issue. Which is why we went into the closed session to determine if there was any fault on her end. And of course, it was told to us there was not. And so that's why we all agreed to proceed with the interviews at hand.
But if I could chime in, some of the things that we're discussing was discussed in a closed session, and I would ask that as my colleagues not to really discuss all of the matters that were discussed in closed session for obvious reasons. It's not appropriate. We have a motion and a second on the floor to proceed with the closed session meeting and interview the candidates. That's what we're dealing with at
Yes,
this moment.
Mr. Mayor, let me just say in response to the Vice Mayor comment, first of all, I voted no on the closed session as far as the material that was discussed in closed session. As far as what you're speaking to, that the city attorney advised us on regarding whether the conduct of the Human Resource Office and the involvement of Ms. Culpepper, and I'm not going to get into the
But once again, those items that were discussed
Yeah,
were
but-
discussed personnel-wise in a closed session. So we
let me
are really
comment.
not.
Let me just comment. I'm not going to bring up that
Right.
case at all. I'm just saying that there was no indication that what was. Well, let me say it this way. Whenever there are hires made, which this council is involved in as well as hiring persons, we get the background check information. Is that correct? We get background. Matter of fact, Mr. Mayor, you were adamant about getting background check information on several of our appointees, which is fine, which I agree you should. That was the issue as far as whether the process that was going through was Ms. Culpepper aware of there not being background checks made. She had to have been aware of it because we do not hire people without those things being done. And so to try to say that she was not aware of it, how can you bring someone into a position without being aware of the background check? We even have to do that on the council. So I don't think that's what the
HR department handles that.
Yeah, but they report it back. They report just like they report it back to us just like when we hire. We're going to have to do a background check on individuals we hire here. They don't keep that in isolation. They share that background check information with us. And then there is a final decision made. It's the same thing with Ms. Culper.
once
So
again,
to try to remove her from that process, I don't think that was the conclusion of the city attorney.
But once again, what I would like to just add for the record as well, this process today is to interview the approved candidates for the position of city assessor.
Right.
All of the anecdotal stuff that has been added is not germane to this motion and second. So I would ask that we keep the business at hand germane to the motion and the business at hand today. Sir, you have indicated that you do not
Mr. Mayor.
intend to participate.
Right, Mr. Mayor.
And that's where I think it is.
Let me just say, so when you say it's not germane to it, relevant to it, it is germane because of the fact that we're going through a process of bringing in someone who we are aware of improprieties. And that I think that is germane to the process. And also it's germane because I'm expressing my view of why I will not be participating in the process. Just like I didn't participate in the process when the city manager was being interviewed and did not have a college degree. I will not participate in this process. We're interesting enough where you were against the city manager not having a college.
In all due respect,
it's interesting
sir,
in this
in all-
incident,
in all
you
due-
changed it.
in-
You
in-
changed it. You
in all
changed
due
your stance
respect,
on that.
you continue
I've been
to-
consistent.
But you continue to go
I've been
outside of the
consistent.
scope of what
That's
this is.
fine. If you think I'm outside the scope, that's fine.
So yes, you are. And
That's fine.
we're dealing with the issue of the closed session meeting,
Right.
which is what we're dealing with.
Right.
You have indicated you
Go right on,
intend not
Mr.
to
Mayor.
be
I've stated
present.
my
So
point.
thank you for your position.
Thank you.
Mayor, I don't want to respond to him, but he's indicated that due to her improprieties, so stated by him, that she should not be a candidate for hire. And we have our city attorney right outside the door. I'd like to bring her in and clarify that position. I think it's important for the public to know.
Clarify
He's
what
not-
position?
He's not an attorney.
Wait a minute, you say clarify what position?
Your position.
My position is simply
You said-
that we have received a letter from the Commonwealth of Virginia
let's
saying that
answer.
improprieties were committed. That's nothing for the, and my fact, I asked for the city attorney to advise us on that, and she's in the process of supposedly advising us. But it's nothing for her to tell us on
words in
what
her
I'm
mouth.
bringing up. I'm not putting any words. You have the letter. Maybe you haven't read it, but it talks to
at this point,
to those issues.
At this point, we have a motion and a second on the floor. It is time for us, unless there are objections from council, it is time for us to move forward with the proposed agenda. Sir, you said that you will not participate. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Barnes is absent. Mr. Hugel.
Aye.
Mrs. Lucasberg.
Yes.
Mr. Moody.
Yes.
Mr. Tillage.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker.
No.
Mayor Glover.
Yes. We are in closed. Need to come certify our closed meeting, and we do have a motion, so I would ask the Vice Mayor, Lucasberg, would you please read the certification
Certainly.
motion?
I hereby move that each council member certify that, to the best of his or her knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting just concluded.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Barnes is absent. Mr. Hugel.
Aye.
Mrs. Lucasberg.
Yes.
Mr. Moody.
Yes.
Mr. Tillage.
Yes.
Dr. Whitaker. Mayor Glover.
Yes.
Thank you.
That concludes our closed session meeting. Meeting adjourned.